If you've watched my Veda videos, you know that I love books and reading, and I haven't actually talked about them since Veda. So I thought, I'm about due. I'm not here to give you a book review, and I don't think I ever will because I hate spoilers, both receiving and giving. I don't like to tell people how a book's going to turn out. Even if they ask me specifically, well, how does it end? I will not answer. Read for yourself. Instead, what I want to do today is tell you about a series of books, and an interesting thing that has occurred with that series of books. I believe I first heard about this book on the Facebook fan page of the author. I immediately went to look on amazon.co.jp, the Japanese version of amazon.com, for the book, and I found it. Not only did I find it, I found an option for an autographed version, so I now have my very first book signed by an author. No, it is not The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I really debated getting it. I'd love to support the Vlogbrothers, and I almost ordered it, but then I stopped and thought, it's just not the kind of book I read, and while I'd love to support him, there's not much point in me buying a book I'm not going to read. Maybe I'll give it a try someday in the future, but for now, I'm sticking with my science fiction and fantasy. So instead of that book as my first ever signed by an author copy of a book, I got Captain Vorpachel's Alliance by Lois McMaster Bujold. I hope I said that right. There's a signature right on the very second page. Obviously, it's not personalized because I didn't meet her. It's interesting enough that I was able to order this book on amazon.co.jp. Though the really interesting thing is that I already have this in my hands. I ordered this back in April and it came yesterday, October 26th. If you go to amazon.com or amazon.ca and look up this book and look at the signed copy or even the unsigned copy, they are not coming out until November 5th or 6th. There's two different dates I've seen. I do not understand why I was able to get this book more than a week in advance of when it will be released in North America. I don't know why, but it's cool. Like I said, I'm not going to give a review for this book. I haven't started reading it yet. I've been far too busy yesterday and today, but I already know I'm going to love it because I have loved everything else in the Vorkosigan saga. If you don't know what the Vorkosigan saga is, well, it's best you look it up on Wikipedia because it's a much better description there than anything I could give. I'm not very eloquent when it comes to describing books. I've tried, I don't give very good descriptions. It's science fiction, or some people might say space opera. Either way, I absolutely love it. I love everyone that's been written. This is the first time that Captain Ivan Vorpachel has been the lead character instead of a supporting character to his cousin. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he comes out as the main character instead of the, as everyone calls him, that idiot Ivan. So while I don't have a recommendation or a review for this book, I absolutely recommend the Vorkosigan saga. It is wonderful. I've enjoyed reading it twice. Every book of it. Actually, I believe I've read the first book 3 times. If you have any interest at all in science fiction and you haven't read this, well, this is the saga. This one is 2, yeah. If you haven't read this, get it. If you haven't read the whole saga, get all of them. They're great. Apart from that, I want to ask a favor, actually. Living in Japan, I don't get to walk into a bookstore with good English book selections very often. I love science fiction and fantasy, and the bookstores in Fukuoka, well, their science fiction and fantasy sections have been getting smaller and smaller and crappier every year. Thankfully, Amazon.co has replaced some of that, but it's not the same as being able to walk into a store and scan the books and find something that looks interesting. I find it so much harder to find a good book I don't know about already on Amazon. So the favor I'd like to ask is that anybody who's watching this who's a fan of science fiction or fantasy and has a good book that they would like to recommend to me, please do so in the comments down below. Especially books that have come out after 1998, because that's when I first moved to Japan. A lot of the ones that came out after 98 I have read, I'm sure, but I'm sure there are hundreds of excellent science fiction and fantasy books that I have missed that I would just love to read. And lately I haven't had enough books to read.